the Italian Football Podcast.
Yeah, well, let's talk about Dusan Vlahovic because this is a huge problem for Juventus. Something that we've spoken about for again since the start of the season. We said if Juventus are going to have a successful season, then they need Dusan Vlahovic to be the player or be a little bit closer to the player that we thought Juventus were getting when they signed him almost 3 years ago now. And we are seeing a Vlahovic who is shadow of the player that we thought he would be. And he was a total disaster in this game against Napoli. He got subbed at half time after an awful half. He touched the ball 6 times in that first half, and so desperate were Juventus that they brought on Timothy Weah as the striker, who's not a striker either. He's if anything, he's an outside attacker, if we want to call him an attacker. And that is now Thiago Motta acknowledging the problem, because until now Motta has been very supportive and defending Vlahovic in the media, saying he's doing very well, even though he wasn't, saying that he works very hard, he's got a great attitude, that he's a great player, blah blah blah. Now Motta has, not with his words but with his actions, has acknowledged that there is a big problem there. And if you're subbing off your only striker, remember Juventus's other striker Milik is injured, so you don't have a proper striker on the bench. If you're taking off your only striker and you're putting a player out of position, Timothy Weah at that, then that is a sign that Motta realizes that this is a big problem. And I mean, yeah, he was awful in this game. I mean, the way he miscontrolled the ball, his clumsiness. He ruined a couple of probably Juventus's only 2 kind of dangerous attacks in the first half. One was a cross that came in from the left-hand side, which he completely got his feet in a tangle and it kind of bounced off him. And the second one was he messed up a McKennie cross after a really, really great Juventus counter-attack. He messed that up by getting his feet tangled. He gave the ball away really badly on a McTominay. When McTominay did a really good counter for Napoli, had a shot. He just does nothing really. It's hard, we can talk about, how Juventus are a little bit sterile. Motta ball is a little bit sterile at times, but it's very hard for any team, regardless of what your football is and how you play. If you have no striker, it's like playing with 10 men. And at the moment, it really is like Juventus are playing with 10 men. And with this Vlahovic, if Vlahovic is going to continue playing, it's going to be very, very hard for Juventus to really go all the way, to make that final step. Because I've said, I think Juventus are going to have a good season. They're building something good. You can see the structure there. You can see the foundations. You can see already the progress. I mean, it's light and day compared to what it was in the last 3 years. But Juventus don't have a striker, and it's very, very hard to win things when you have no striker at all. So
I wonder if Juventus had purchased, if they'd signed Morata in the summer instead, how much more of a complete team they would have been.
Yeah,
because just think of Morata's movements in this team, with flanked by Nico Gonzalez and Yildiz and Koopmeiners, how much more dangerous they would have been in the final third. When you play,
I agree. I agree completely. It's a hard question to answer. We don't know just how much better Juventus could be with a striker, with a proper striker, and also one, because maybe to an extent, maybe Vlahovic, his type of striker, isn't suited to. And they were talking about this in Italy a lot after the game, about how maybe Vlahovic isn't the kind of Motta needs a striker like a Zirkzee, like a Morata, that comes deep for the ball, joins with the midfield, picks it up, holds it up, and then allows like the outside forwards to make runs in behind.
Meaning essentially Vlahovic is still to learn, has still yet to master how to play with his back against the goal, which is what Allegri was trying to get him to do.
Yet to master. He's still on. He's not even past level 1 of the game.
and that's what Allegri struggled with him last season. He was trying to teach him how to play with his back against the goal. And if you are a striker at Inter, if you are a striker at Milan and Juve, that is what you have to do. You have to be able to play with your back against the goal. When you play for the smaller sides, You'll get more chances. You won't be marked as tightly because teams will try to attack you more. And as a natural result of that, you'll have more chances and more time and more space. But to succeed at the top clubs, when they gridlock you and when they don't allow you a second of space, that's when the big number nines are separated from the provincial number nines. You separate the Vieris from the Gilardinos. And that's what we've seen.
No, I agree. But Vlahovic is no way even close to a Gilardino the way he's playing. I mean, he's way off that. I mean, the question now is, Nima, is what does Motta, what do Juventus do about this? Both short term and long term. If we talk about short term, as in what do they do this season? What do they do now in the next weeks, the next games? Looking ahead. I mean, the options. There isn't really any options. There's Milik.
The option is to play with a false nine.
There's Milik when he's fit, but he's still injured at the moment, and he has been getting a lot of injuries recently. So I don't know how much he can be relied upon, and whether he's that kind of striker either. So there's Milik. Other than that, there's Weah, who we saw in the second half. He's not up to the level required. Or, like you said, you play a false nine. You play either Nico Gonzalez. There's been reports. Tutor Sports reported on Monday that Motta's considering using Kenan Yildiz as a false nine, but then if you use Yildiz as a false nine, you then weaken yourself out on the left wing. And Yildiz has been really good so far this season. So you play Bangula, who's probably not up to the level, or maybe you move Nico Gonzalez to the left and you play Cambiasso on the right, or Conceição when he's back on the right. But you weaken your options behind you if you do that. Or there's Angele from the next gen, but I don't think he will be on the level. So you either do that, or you sign someone in January. But do Juventus have the money to do that? What would you do?
What I would do is I'd probably try to play Mbangula and try to have a false nine and send a strong message to Vlahovic that this is Juve. Everyone is always sotto esame. You have to earn your place at Juve, and in order to do that, if you don't show it, then I think I'd probably look at now trying to sell him in January and reinvest that money in a number 9, because it will have been 4 years.
3 years.
January. 3 years in January, yeah. Excuse me. It'll be 3 years in January, and we have seen absolutely nothing.
The problem is, though, I agree. I think they should look to sell him, but who is going to buy him? I mean, what big clubs are going to be interested in Dusan Vlahovic now?
No,
I think pay the kind of money that Juventus want for Vlahovic. I mean, I'm not sure what his amortized cost will be on his contract, which will require Juventus to get that fee in order to not generate a loss on their accounts. I'm not sure. I haven't worked it out. How much are they signing for? 80 million on a 5-year contract. So 80 divided by 5, what are we looking at? 15, 30, 45, 60, just over about 17 million a year. So you're looking at around 35 million is on his value on his contract. Like no, just over, because there'll be two. He's got 2.5 years left on his contract. So probably about 35. They need to make about 35, 40 million then to not generate a loss. I mean, yeah, would someone pay that? Maybe, but
I think
when you've got to counter in his salary, he's the highest paid player in the league. He's on 12 million a year. I mean, we saw this summer, no one would pay 10 million a year for Osimhen, and Osimhen is a far superior player and a proven striker than Vlahovic was, and no one would pay that. Even the Premier League clubs are not able to spend these crazy figures at the moment because they're hamstrung by financial fair play, PSR. So and when you factor in just how bad Vlahovic is, he looks way off even a 35, 40 million striker, and he's shown nothing to suggest that he can be. If Motta can't rehabilitate him, and he's like one of the best up and coming coaches, especially at developing players, then if you're Arsenal who need a striker, or Chelsea who need a striker, or the clubs that can pay that kind of money, would you pay that kind of money? I think they risk another Chiesa Dybala situation in that no one's going to be prepared to pay the transfer fee or his salary, and he's kind of stuck there, and Juventus have a big problem there.
And with Chiesa, they had to take a minus Valenza even to get rid of him. So no, look, I don't think we're quite there yet. I don't think we're there yet, but we're approaching the vicinity of that area, because I don't think he spent the entire season If he continues like this till November, December, I don't see him finishing the season at Juve. I think they will look to get rid of him in January even, because this can't continue like this. And they'll look to try to bring someone younger and fresher who works better. Ironically, like I said, Morata would have worked really well in this Juve, I think, which is funny given that he's been at the club and wasn't exactly very well appreciated by some fans. And no, it's an interesting.
I agree.